All right, let's get this party started.
Let's get this, as they say, the famous saying goes, let's get this hoe on the road.
I say That's that.
What they say.
I say it all the time.
Who says that?
Everybody.
That's the saying.
I don't say that.
As the saying goes.
You've never said, let's get this hoe on the road.
Let's get this hoe on the road.
I've heard a million people say that.
I've heard let's get this show.
Then why would you put a show on a road?
Why would you put a show on a road? The saying is
traffic would kill all of your actors.
The saying is let's get this hoe on the road. It's not let's get this show on the road. That's ridiculous.
It's a backhoe tractor. They got to get it on the road to get to the next job.
To the next job. Let's get this hoe on the road. So they can
complete the project at hand. Obviously, it's such an intuitive saying.
I feel like even a 5-year-old would understand. It's obviously let's get this hoe on the road.
This is one of our dumber riffs.
This is a really dumb riff. Obviously, right. Let's get this show on the road, Ben. You are correct.
Whatever. I'm mad now. You guys are making fun of me.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome to NewWayStories. Just before you were let in on this conversation, Darius and I just made Ben really angry because we made him believe that...
We're just trying to gaslight him really hard.
Trying to gaslight him on a popular saying, and, Ben doesn't like being gaslit.
No, it's going to be in the pod so everyone can see.
Everybody knows...
how stupid we sound.
We're not. It was one of our dumber riffs. So if you sat through that and you're still here 3 minutes later waiting for the rest of this podcast, we appreciate it. Welcome to NewWayStories. We are a comedy podcast about creativity and story and how we can make the world a better place. And oftentimes we just devolve into comic books and movies, and that's exactly what we're going to do today.
What really does make the world a better place
is comic books and movies. And that's
comic books and movies.
I just read a book. It's called
that's what those things are called.
Yeah, I don't like to brag about it, but it's called How to Make
the places you'll go.
Yeah. It took me a bit, but we got through it. A couple sit down sessions. No, it was called How to Make a Horror Movie and Survive. And so it's made in the 80s. It's set in the 80s. And, the guy's trying to make a horror film, and he has a cursed camera and it kills people.
Does he survive? Oh, that's funny.
He doesn't survive. But the final girl who starts off in the book, she's like an actor trying to make it, and she is like the bad girl who always gets killed off, right? And so, but she wants to be final girl material. Anyway, there's a conversation in it, and he's like the director. He knows that the camera will kill people, and he's like, horror isn't horror unless it's real. And he has this delusion.
He's crazy.
He has a delusion that if he can make the perfect horror film, it actually serves the world. And like the ultimate sacrifice to art and all of this stuff. And like it sounds ridiculous, but if you extrapolate like on what a lot of artists like how a lot of artists think and talk, like
it makes
right. You're like the ultimate sacrifice, like gotta do it. But in that conversation they were kind of talking about like Hollywood, and it's also in the 80s, which Hollywood was ultra absurd in the 80s. And so they're kind of talking about that. And the guy was like, you're making a movie. Like, that is making the world a better place. And I think that a lot of movies do that, So all that to say.
Like Inside Out.
Exactly. Like Inside Out.
Not the Pixar movie, the horror movie, Inside Out. Where?
It's a mad scientist trope.
Inside Out, what they did to a certain character in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes. So the
makers of Human Centipede.
I think that talking about movies, it makes me happy, right? And hopefully it makes you happy too, which is making the world a better place. I don't have to justify myself.
Yeah.
Get off you guys. But with that being said, though, we're going to do our one quick question.
One quick question.
And we're going to talk about, all three of us now have watched Deadpool and Wolverine. So we're going to talk about that. And then that's going to get into a little bit more of director conversation. Because there's some fascinating stuff involved in the Deadpool Wolverine thing.
Oh, yeah, there is. Oh, yeah,
one quick question, not related to comic books or movies. This is something that I have been contemplating a lot because it's something that persecution and prejudices that I have experienced. Why do you think that people who own snakes, or they say their favorite animal is a snake, why is that person automatically weird?
Voldemort.
Freaks.
Stupid.
So exactly. So that's the question.
Crazy.
Is why is that interaction or why is that reaction to snakes?
Isn't there something like,
why does Voldy have to be a snake to be the ultimate evil?
Isn't there something in humans where they're like intrinsically like supposed to be afraid of like snakes?
Snakes and spiders?
Snakes and spiders. That it's such a common thing throughout, that if you are
all
the
cultures.
freak, if you are the freak who isn't, there's something off about you.
So I don't know about the snakes and spiders thing. I don't know if that's real or if you're pulling it out of your hiney.
No,
it would be
legit.
Interesting.
Wait, back me up, Darius.
I do think that I was listening to Jordan Peterson, and he was saying like,
"Oh, you're not afraid of snakes. Well, good for you. Very good for you then."
He was saying even atheists. He goes, you can be an atheist if you want, but even your fear of snakes come from the Judeo-Christian. Like you're being influenced by that, like whether you want to or not. And so he was saying back to the Garden of Eden, like that story has implanted so much in our like just way of being that you're afraid of snakes.
So I didn't listen to what you said, but I found there is evidence suggesting humans have a genetic predisposition to easily learn a fear of snakes at a young age.
A genetic disposition?
Yes. Some say that the fear is hardwired as an evolutionary advantage that helped our ancestors avoid dangerous animals. Studies with infants have found that babies' pupils dilate more when shown pictures of snakes than other animals, suggested an inherited stress reaction.
Really?
It's interesting. I wonder what happens if you put a snake that is harmless. This sounds so diabolical. What happens if you put a snake in a room with a toddler?
Yeah, good question.
Now we are doing cutting-edge experiment here in Russia. We are doing toddler versus snake. We've also tried woman versus badger. And we have tried little boy versus.
It starts as like experiment, but then quickly shifts into Russian reality show. They go, okay, experiment worked. Now we try to catch America doing television.
No, they do it because they start. It's the end goal is snake and baby, man with bear. That's how we get the classic Russian man fighting bear.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting. What do you like? Like you said, you have to. Obviously, we don't want any toddlers injured. So I think if you put
snake, it's not going to hurt a baby.
Like a rubber boa, not like a fake boa, but a rubber boa is like 3 foot snake, super docile. It's not gonna like bite you, right? You put that in front of a baby, and then it's tough because Kate and I were just having this conversation, and she's like, "Well, if someone says their favorite animal is a cat or a dog, that's like an animal, it won't kill you. It makes sense that it's a cat or dog, like is your favorite animal.
Well,
you're interacting with it, like it's fun. But I think here's my issue is that if
wild
you were
dog
to say,
could definitely kill you.
Well, wild dog, right? So if I were to say, what's your favorite animal? And you're like, a mountain lion. No one says, what a weirdo. Because a mountain lion will kill you faster than like the majority of snakes. You know what I mean?
That's so true.
It's a cool animal and it's super like majestic.
Yeah, but some of these freaks are like actually going to get a dangerous snake, put it in a little terrarium.
Freaks. Tell them about these freaks.
In a little glass thing and be like, you look at my snake. Isn't it so cool? I feed it rats every day.
So I do think that there are some snake people that give other snake people a bad rap.
Okay, thank you. That's all we wanted you to say, Jesse, was that snake people are disgusting.
I do think some snake people are.
I think Jesse has verified it here in this conversation. Snake people are pieces of crap.
There are
but
there are reasons that humans intrinsically don't like snakes, and if you do like snakes, there's something wrong with you.
The question
and you should be shunned from society.
Shunned from society, just like a woman on the rag. Just get out of here.
Or a man with leprosy.
Wow.
The question,
and wow, listeners, you heard that.
That's what snake people believe.
Just snake people believe. I'm not going to say woman on the rag.
Just quoting the Bible. You know, come at me.
And if we're also quoting the Bible, who told Eve to eat the fruit?
Okay, so that is, I think if you're saying like, hey, there's this, you know, the story of Adam and Eve is just so ingrained into culture and into people that like, you just are afraid of snakes.
There are other cultures
that kind of makes sense to me.
Use snakes as, you know.
The thing about snakes that makes sense if you are an evolutionary biologist, the thing about snakes is easy to imagine it becoming a mutation that gets passed on is that people who did not have a fear of snakes would be more likely to get bitten by a poisonous snake because a cougar you see and it is obviously scary. And so you don't need to have a strong reaction to a mountain lion in order to survive.
Imposing nature.
You would need to have theoretically, you would need to have a strong reaction to a snake because you're so likely to encounter it and it surprise you. So the people that were quick to react from the surprise of a snake would theoretically have survived more.
I can buy into this a little bit more.
Although I
not
honestly
what
think
Ben is saying, but
wait, what?
I'm just kidding. I can buy into this because there are like, okay, if you see a large snake, I think your reaction is like, oh, I should get away from said snake. But if you run into a coral snake that is small and pretty, like it has, you know, bright colors, but if you get bit by a coral snake,
you're dead.
That's no go. That's no good for you. You know, if you get bit by a garter snake, it's not a big deal. Like it may not even draw blood. If you run into a black mamba in the wild, you're like, I'm gonna keep my distance from this thing. That feels like, you know, it's a 10-foot snake. You're like, I don't like that.
Putting these thoughts in my brain, Jesse.
See, but this is why this is interesting to me because I freaking love snakes.
Love snakes.
Love snakes.
But people also love reptiles. There's whole zoos that are just for reptiles. There's a whole part of the zoo that's the reptile room.
But I do think that
you think there's a big anti-snake stigma?
I think that there is, and I think that reptiles kind of to a lesser extent. Like I think you can like turtles and no one's going to judge you for that. But I think if you're an iguana person or like me, like my favorite like section at the zoo is the reptiles. I think people give you a second look. They go, well, yeah, they have their section because they are a part of the animal kingdom, but you know, we don't really expect people to enjoy it.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed that it's sectioned off away from all the other things?
And when I have to go through it at a zoo, I might as well be getting gold at the speed walking Olympics because I am going for it.
Man, I am.
So here's the thing that's interesting to me more than... I'm just going to make this observation. This is not a generalization. This is an observation from the observed world that I have lived in. I have personally noticed many more non-white people who are terrified of snakes than white people. It seems to be something that every time I talk about snakes with black people or reptiles, I feel like there's at least one in a group of black people who's like, I don't do reptiles. And I think that's very interesting to me. I don't know why. That's just an observation. It's not a generalization.
No, I could see that like big reactions too. You know, like I think you have Ben's reaction, which is like a medium-sized negative reaction.
Literally, every time you mention something, the thought would go in my head and I would shiver.
Anaconda.
That is insane.
I'm just staring at you. I'm trying to
none unless you've got buns, honey.
Jennifer Lopez.
You can do
an ice cube.
But please don't lose that. But
thank you, Sir Mix-a-Lot.
John
Seattle's
Voight.
own Sir Mix-a-Lot. Greatest rapper from Seattle.
Absolutely.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Absolutely. Probably the only rapper. There are no other rappers to come out of Seattle.
And wannabe Mac Miller, what's his name?
Macklemore.
Macklemore would agree that Sir Mix-a-Lot's the best rapper.
He would. He
All
absolutely would.
right. So it's just an interesting.
I bet he likes snakes, that freak.
I just like snakes. I think are super fascinating to me. And listen, I owned a snake when I was a kid. Red-tailed boa constrictor. Ben, I don't know if I've told you this before.
You have. Oh gosh.
His name was Rocky Balboa Constrictor, and he was great. Pull him out. You get to hold on to him.
Yeah.
To hang out. You know, he got out in our house probably 3 or 4 times at a few months at a time, and then you find him later, and you go, "You crafty devil."
I would not be able to sleep in a house. I'd barely be able to sleep in a house where it would be caged in. I would not sleep.
My parents were like, "Listen, we're not going to tell any of our relatives. We're gonna have your birthday party here. You don't tell Grandma Curtis that the snake is out."
That's so awesome.
I go,
Oh
okay,
gosh.
cool. All right. We can put a pin on Ben. I'm gonna take you into the wild.
You are taking me nowhere, Jesse Roberts. The only place you're taking
show
me.
you how to handle a snake.
Oh gosh, I think I would
I
pass
don't
out. I'm
mean
not even.
that as you.
And I'll tell you this right now. They're talking about giving a rubber boa. They're talking about giving a rubber boa to toddlers. And on the far left, you know what they'd like to do? They wouldn't like to give them a rubber boa. They'd like to give them a feather boa. They're talking about giving feather boas to all the toddlers. They're doing it, and they're not asking for permission. I've done more for the toddler community, more for toddlers than many people. I've maybe done more for the toddler community than any movie since Baby Geniuses.
I watched this video. Trump was playing golf with.
I watched a bit of that too. I didn't understand it, but
the Bryson DeChambeau one. Yeah, I think it. You have to like golf. It was interesting. He made a really good shot. He was like, think Biden could do that?
He's made that joke before.
Hilarious. He was obviously joking there. But here's the thing with Trump is that he can't help himself. Like when he's not even trying to brag, but he just can't help himself. Bryson DeChambeau, he's the longest hitter like on the tour. He can drive it like 350 yards. It's insane. And he hits it, and Trump goes, he's the longest driver by far. And I know them all, folks, and it's him. He's the one it is like, do you actually know them all?
I know them all.
I know them all very well, folks. And he's number one.
That has to be a saying for him. Like it has to be like a figure of speech for him.
In his lexicon,
says, I know.
And I know them all.
I know them all. I know them all the toddlers. I've met them all. And there's only one.
All of the babies in the
Kiss
campaign.
all the babies.
So
is he an actually good golf player?
Yeah, he is, which is kind of crazy because he like takes, he's an old guy. This is a classic old person swing, but he takes his driver back maybe like 2 feet from the ball. It comes through and he's still hitting it like 200 yards. But he hit, a wedge shot like closer than Bryson a couple times. So he's good.
Missed opportunity that Biden dropped out. We never got that golf game.
Would have been awesome. All right, so we've all watched Deadpool Wolverine. We talked about it a little bit
Classic New Way Stories to stretch out a movie because we all watch it at different times.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
And we owe this to Anthony Hernandez. He was like, he texted me. He goes, I was hoping you guys would talk about Deadpool, and then all you guys talked about was Hugh Jackman's abs.
What else is there?
You go, well, I am going to watch it, and then we're going to talk about those even more. So
I was going to say, now post-watching, I think Hugh Jackman's abs, was there anything else in the movie? After that close-up shot of his bottom two abs,
which is the hardest to get.
I watched this last week. I watched Rambo.
I forgot about the rest of the movie.
Rambo 2.
Okay.
And he goes back to Vietnam.
Damn.
Good movie, actually. Really solid action film. But there's a part where he's sharpening his Rambo knife, and it just is a close-up on his bicep, and just tracking down his glistening arm into sharpening a knife. And I looked at Kate and I was like, this is prime 1980s cinema. We're just going to do a close-up on a huge bicep and he's sharpening a knife. And it was like a 45-second scene. It was...
Whoa!
Yeah.
It's not that weird that they did it to me. To me, it's not that weird. They didn't do that to me. It's not that weird that they did that in the 80s. What's weird to me is that they're still doing it, to be honest with you. But normally now it's usually referential.
I think it's less, right. They're doing a bit here.
Yeah.
In the 80s, it was like, let's show you how big these guys' muscles are. It was in Predator. It's in, I just referenced Over the Top the other day.
People hadn't heard. The great thing about the 80s was, one, lots of people weren't even aware of steroids. There were a lot of people that were like, oh.
Yeah, it wasn't like a mainstream.
People are getting way buffer. That's cool. And then the people that were aware of steroids, because of the propaganda of the 80s and 90s, Sylvester Stallone said publicly many times, he did anti-steroid campaigns, hey kids, don't do drugs. That includes steroids. They're bad for you. They'll make you sexier. And
That'll make you an action star. Don't do them.
Don't do them. I don't need any more competition out here. And so even the people who were watching them believed that they were not on steroids. And so that's part of the amazing cultural moment there is people are watching this thinking this person has achieved a feat of human greatness.
Yeah.
Which makes it more interesting.
Yeah. I do think now it is referential and less this is what we think serious, a serious action movie needs.
Thor Love and Thunder, it almost is as if Chris Hemsworth got buffed just as a joke for that movie.
Yeah, right. And I think that there is actually a swing. I think we've talked about this before, but in the 80s and 90s, the muscles were so big. And it was
voluptuous.
It was like cartoon characters in
voluptuous,
not like comic book characters in the late 90s, where it's just ridiculous, huge jacked down, that
Sammy Sosa bodies.
That's real life in 80s and 90s, and that was what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
And the women had surgery that was it's just not realistic at all. And I think that it is now. You think a person who is in shape is. It's trying to look more realistic, even if people are getting surgery. It is trying to get a realistic vibe. Although I have, well, we won't get into that. I have some issues. But
with
Jesse's not a fan of the BBL. I've got many BBLs.
I just think that there's a lot.
Someone call me the master of the BBLs.
I just think that there's a lot of people who are trying to do, things to make themselves look better and more, whatever. And
young.
You see them, and it's a lip issue for me. Is the big one. I go, you clearly have injected your lips with something. Those do not look real. Those look like the wax. You've done the wax lips that you're just holding in your mouth. It's just have thinner lips. It's okay.
That was a great impression, Ben.
So anyway,
that's great impression.
Not what we're here to talk about, though. We're here to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
Deadpool
Deadpool
is quite funny.
Yes, I feel like
quite funny.
Just tone back a little bit. The parts of Deadpool that I found annoying wasn't as prominent.
There you go.
Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was just trying to think of the movie as a whole. It's funny. I think it is like an actually good movie, right? Like I think Deadpool is wrestling with this idea of, wanting to be needed and to matter, right? And that like I think is kind of a common human feeling or emotion that you can get behind. You can like empathize with that character. I liked the bringing in of the Wolverine, who like sucks in his universe, his timeline. I thought that was cool. So that's like that is an arc. And then also, here's the thing: is that they said a lot of things in this movie about the Disney like Marvel universe that I've been thinking for the last 5 years, and they just were able to put a voice to all of my thoughts and feelings, and they're doing it in a comedic way in an actual Disney movie, which was really cool.
And funny enough, I think it was Jamie Lee Curtis kind of had because they keep asking these old Hollywood actors and directors what they think of Marvel movies, and they'll say like a snarky little comment, and then their PR team will tell them to apologize 2 days later. And then so
Disney has all the money.
Yeah, and then but then Ryan Reynolds was like, "Oh, I didn't know we had to apologize for making fun," or something like that, like kind of like signaling, "Hey guys, it's okay.
Yeah,
you can make fun of."
Yeah.
Well, and I also think the people who are most respected are the people who can make fun of themselves.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like if a Disney movie is making fun of themselves, or like, I mean, this film, is a little bit of an ode and a love letter to like the Fox, the early Fox superhero movies.
Started it all, honestly.
Yeah, and all of like the bad ones, with the exception of like Bryan Singer's X-Men.
And Blade, the original Blade is great.
Good point.
Shouldn't watch it. I can't recommend it. If you can watch it on VidAngel. I always forget how filthy that movie is. I've only ever watched it like one time.
This is the classic when you just watch it when you're a kid on like TBS. And then like
exactly.
It happened to me with Mad Max Road Warrior. I was like, I freaking love this movie. I saw it on TBS all the time. And then I like tried to show the Wilson boys to it when I was like a kid's pastor.
You're like, we can't watch
this movie's amazing. And then I go, well, thanks for nothing, Blockbuster.
Snap that VHS case shut right quick.
It's such a funny movie, and I think that also I can't get over this enough. Like when you nail music, how much adds to a film.
I was trying to pay attention to it more a second time. It's got some great needle drops. It doesn't feel forced. It fits the moment always. And
I'm not even like a boy band, guy.
Mm-hmm.
I like Justin Timberlake just as much as the next man, I think. But like the opening sequence of NSYNC's Bye 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 is so funny, and he's like dancing, and it's gruesome, but in a comical way.
That scene.
Yeah.
So Ben, I don't know if we've told you about this. Our idea when we were young was an action movie in a huge martial arts sequence set to Lionel Richie's The Commodores' Easy Like Sunday Morning. And that was my dream as like aspiring filmmaker when I was a teenager, was like, they absolutely did that. Like that idea that I had, it's now been done with Bye 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 at the opening sequence of Deadpool Wolverine. And it was
they did it in the van as well.
Good.
The van's fight scene was, in my opinion, the best.
What's the song?
What song was it in
again?
The van?
Oh my gosh, what song? Yeah. Look it up. We just watched it yesterday.
I know.
Dude, the van, I'll never look at a Honda Odyssey the same again. Everything about that fight in the van was Wolverine is like stabbing him in the back. He kicks Wolverine up to the front, and then they look across at each other. Ryan he goes, I was wrong. The Honda Odyssey F's hard. Too bad you don't. That is my favorite line in the entire film. It was.
Grease.
Oh, yeah, you're the one that I want. Yeah. Yeah. And then it like pans down to the coexist.
Dude.
The coexist
Great.
bumpers.
The coexist bumper, so good. And the way that the vans shake, like they fight, they just stab each other all night long.
Yeah.
It is so funny, dude. Yes. I know that sounded dirty. I know it sounded dirty. Okay?
I think that
I
that's
didn't
the
mean
point.
for it to. Yes.
Yes. There were some.
It's a very euphemistic movie.
This is, in my opinion, the funniest of the Deadpools. I feel like the first two were just saying the grossest, wackiest, dumbest things, and just oh, you're a mustard bottle and a ketchup and put a baby in a gonorrhea.
That's Ben's Bill Cosby.
We have the mustard bottle
Filthy
and the
Cosby.
baby with the gonorrhea. Filthy Cosby.
I think Pete Holmes used to do a Filthy Cosby.
That's a funny bit.
It's really funny.
But you know what I mean? They would just say, just riff a bunch of dumb stuff together. And then, but this felt like they're actually planned a joke in every scene.
Totally.
Instead of just what's the grossest thing we could say?
I appreciate, there is some genuine cleverness, and it has kind of my favorite joke structure right now, I think, is when one person says something and then the reaction is to the wrong part of the sentence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very funny
and we're
bit.
just burning all the jokes. So sorry, but not sorry.
Spoiler warning! If you
Spoiler alert! Spoiler
alert!
They win in the
spoiler.
end. The guy tells Deadpool, he goes, "I think you relieved yourself when you were unconscious," and he goes, "I wasn't unconscious." And
I love that. Yeah.
And then it just keeps going into the scene too.
Soiled yourself.
Or soiled yourself, yeah. And I wasn't unconscious. That's not the part that you should be focusing on. It's great.
Funny.
Or when he walks out after getting the new suit and he's like, "Your tailor's a predator, but I love the new suit."
Yeah.
I also love again, they're pointing out things and they're able to do stuff because they're doing it in a tone of satire. The issue with Marvel trying to do all of these things is they're not doing it in satire, which is the issue, right? And so when they're doing all these cameos in it's Chris Evans and they're like, "Oh, this is it. It's him. He's the guy."
So genius.
And it threw me off too because I was like, "Oh,
the first time watching it,
I fell for it.
Because Captain America, they ended
it played the music.
Chris Evans run. You're like, okay, yeah, we're doing this. And then when he's flame on, you're like, oh,
so funny,
hilarious, great going,
hilarious. Dude, I'm so dumb. And for some reason, I didn't watch it with my wife. For some reason, I knew immediately after the reveal. I was like, Brittany would have got that and not me. And I went home and Brittany was like, "How was the movie?" And I was like, "Great." I was like, "There's a Chris Evans cameo." I said, "There's a Chris Evans cameo." And she goes, "As Human Torch?" And I was like, "What the F?"
Listen, that first Fantastic Four movie is not great.
No.
But I don't mind it.
So here's
Silver Surfer's bad. But I feel like the first one's not so bad.
Sorry, Silver Surfer is not bad. Silver Surfer is an STD. Silver Surfer is a serious issue.
It's tough.
No, that's mean. Silver Surfer was not a great movie. That's the whole thing for me is these movies, people that weren't into it like us I don't think would understand why this movie was so good. And as I went to see the movie, I really waffled about whether or not I was going to see it. And some people soft shamed me for going to watch it. They're like, "I never watch a radar movie in the theater. I'm not going to watch a movie that's that filthy." And I was like, "That's okay. You don't have to." But this is a part of my childhood, hopefully finally getting an end cap.
A little bit of resolution.
And so I'm really honestly just don't know if the childhood Trevor cannot watch this. And so it was exactly that. It was exactly what I wanted it to be for people who waited with their breath held to watch Fantastic Four when it came out.
Yeah.
who were so excited when Elektra showed up in Daredevil, who were on board when they decided to make an Elektra. Like, I had all of those movies. It was the only decoration I had in my room in my trailer was all of those Marvel movies lined up so you could see the Marvel logo on the DVD cases right next to each other. And it was all these crappy movies that really weren't any good. And this movie being a love letter to that part of my childhood was so cool to me.
Yeah. I didn't like Elektra. I think we've talked about this before. Darius enjoyed Daredevil and Elektra.
Yeah.
And
yeah, dude, Ben Affleck Daredevil slaps. I know it's a bad movie. I freaking love it.
I mean that fight scene in the playground area on the seesaws, no good. But with that being said, though, when they like show her sigh, I was like, "Oh, Elektra!" Like I was pumped. I was like, "Let's go."
I had absolutely no. Out of all the cameos, hers was the most surprising to me.
Really, more than Wesley Snipes as Blade?
I think that Wesley Snipes has the same impact as Nick Cage. Is that like when he enters, you're like, that's the joke. We don't even have to write a joke. Like if we get Wesley Snipes on screen, people are gonna lose their mind. It's gonna be hilarious, which is true.
The best.
Like Elektra has been, I think Jennifer Gardner and Elektra, like legitimately has been forgotten about.
Yeah.
Like I think people literally forgot about it.
That's dude, when he's like, ooh, which Daredevil? Is he okay? And they're like, no, he died. And Jennifer Garner goes, it's fine. Gosh, that was so good. Dude, when Ryan Reynolds, when Deadpool goes, since the divorce, he's let himself go a little bit. That's a real joke about Hugh Jackman's real divorce. That was phenomenal.
The joke I loved, and we referenced it afterwards. It was the because he was. What did he say to Blade? He's like, "Oh, I didn't expect to see you here. I thought you were retired."
Yeah.
And he's like, retarded.
You call me retarded? I'm trying to get canceled twice. Like,
and we were like, that was his first line in the movie. He was
so
retarded.
So good.
Then your Wesley Snipes impression is very good.
Really?
That was phenomenal.
You think
so? Yes. Because I'm not even kidding.
I've been trying to do my favorite, Channing Tatum as Gambit, for the past 2 weeks, and Malia
I'm sure that's
hates
a hard
me.
one. Channing Tatum as Gambit. People on the internet it's already a meme. Jesse, I don't know if you probably haven't seen this.
No.
It's already like people use the clip of him going like,
"Ooh,
I'm about this right now. I'm going to make a name for myself." And people are using a video clip of that to like put on their posts of them doing stupid stuff. But like, he is easily the most like referenced part of the movie online.
Yeah,
Which is part of the reason I went to see it, because I was like, stop freaking guys, internet, you all suck so much. It's been out for 2 weeks. We're still in the spoiler zone, you morons.
Yeah. It was like the Christian guys on their wedding night. Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself here. You tell everyone what happened today.
That's pretty good.
I didn't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I'm not really on the internet. I didn't know that Channing Tatum was in it. Also, I had to like lean over to Ben. I was like, it wasn't Channing Tatum in Wolverine Origins, was it?
No.
Like the only time Gambit. Then he told me that, they were trying to make.
And that's why Ryan said, "What are you besides a reminder of one of my failures?" or something like that. That's what he said to Gambit.
I thought that he was talking about, Channing Tatum being gorgeous.
No. He's referencing how Ryan Reynolds tried to get that movie.
I thought that you knew about that, Jess. I was kind of hoping that you would have been the one of the three of us. But Ben, you didn't get spoiled for that because you saw it. So how was that? How did that feel for you?
I loved it. I wasn't. Yeah. I remember hearing rumors about it, but it was so long ago that I forgot. Honestly, all those besides the Elektra blew my mind. I didn't expect him to get Wesley Snipes back because I knew he hated making the third one and barely wanted to do it. And then Gambit, I just love Gambit. We were talking about it pre-pod.
Gambit's my guy.
It's my guy too.
Gambit's a very sick character, yeah.
Which I didn't know this. We were just kind of looking it up. So created in 1990. I forget the writer who created him, but co-created with Jim Lee, who is like one of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
And I just like all of the dumb Marvel movies that Disney has made. Like, I mean, the characters, right? Like, and Ant-Man, I love it. Like, Ant-Man was never on my radar as a comic book collector. Like, Gambit is on my radar. Like, I love him as a comic book character. But, you know, I like the New Orleans like vibe. I'm just a fan of the Bow Staff. I like Donatello. I like Gambit. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
And I like, you know.
And we were texting about it before. In some angles, and I would say the same thing for the Wolverine mask. For some angles, it looked good on Channing Tatum, but other angles, his head looked huge.
Well, Channing Tatum has one of the thickest necks in the world, dude. Have you never noticed this? His neck is like this naturally, and so like putting him in a full silicone thing that's supposed to go up his neck to his head.
Yeah,
totally.
I appreciate the accuracy of the comic books, and I even love how Ryan Reynolds or Deadpool was like, finally, for once, we're getting Wolverine in a comic accurate costume.
Right? Like let's not pretend that we're not in a superhero movie.
For once, he's not embarrassed to be in a comic book movie.
Yeah. I feel like with Gambit, you probably could put him in that costume. It would have been like, you know what, guys, we could tweak it a little.
Yeah.
Same thing with Sam Wilson as in his new Captain America suit. At least the first one. And at the end of the show,
rough.
I was like, I get it's comic accurate, but it doesn't translate super well. So let's tweak it a little bit.
Silicone is too thick, I think, to like go. I don't know why I feel like I'm qualified to critique costuming.
You know, go for it.
But as somebody who tried out a lot of different homemade superhero costumes as a child, I feel like that's my expertise.
Yeah.
The silicone is too thick to like go from your neck to the top of your head and still keep any of the like shape definition of your neck. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have to have in comic books they're drawn onto their skin.
Yes,
it's so to get that effect, you have to have like Lycra. You've got to have spandex.
Yeah.
And so
But I will say though, I will take that over like bad CGI.
Yeah, bad CGI costumes.
Like, give me a real costume that doesn't fit exactly right over
for sure
obviously CGI necks.
So the CGI Wolverine at the end was so odd to me.
Yeah,
so
the one where he's
weird
like
to me. Yes, so weird, and they made him and they made him 20 pounds heavier, which I guess probably to most people who aren't obsessed with men's bodies, he didn't care. But I'm like, his arms just got so much
like it wasn't
bigger.
Actually matching the actor.
Mm-hmm. No.
Which should have been.
I think some angles of the Wolverine mask look pretty sick. Like from the side, like from this angle. Cool. But when he was like full on right here, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, we see why that was never in a movie.
So to put a bow on this, clever, really funny, and it like an actual good story, which was awesome. I fear that people are gonna see this and they're gonna try and mimic it, like the Taika Waititi effect for Marvel. They're gonna like start having their characters break the fourth wall, and it's just like don't do it, guys. Don't do it
immediately. Yeah,
that's like a Deadpool character thing.
Nobody ever I don't think they ever talk about maybe they talk about it in the first Deadpool movie. That is a function of his like psychosis because the procedure that he has makes him crazy. So that's why it works, is because he thinks he's talking to an audience when he's really just talking to himself. But it's meta because there is an audience.
There is an audience. Yes.
I also love.
So you can't just do that for any character.
Yeah. The joke where he's like, give me a second. He walks over, grabs the camera. He's like, screw you, Fox. I'm going to Disneyland.
And it breaks it.
Yeah.
My favorite was actually, you're not the only one that can gently tap the fourth wall.
Yeah.
The proposal.
Is that what you think I do?
Is that what you think I do?
Yeah. Really funny. heartfelt, right? Like in the midst of like obscene violence and obscenities, it's a heartfelt story, which I love. Yeah. I think
Wolverine's like thing about the suit is genius.
Yes,
I think also John Rolfe and I were talking about this. They have a female villain that is like a cool female villain.
She's sick.
They have a very diverse cast, and we don't point it out. They just do it, and they do it well. And
they
it's
don't have to tell us.
Oh, amazing! Yeah. Like we all love this movie, but when
they're great actors.
When you try to force it down our throats, then you're like, "This is a bad movie." I don't want you to like try to force your like ethics or morals on us or whatever. But if you just have a cool female villain, then people will love it. And I think
we're not that stupid. We're able to connect the dots on that internally.
Right,
that she's a girl and also a cool villain. She didn't need to say. She didn't need to say. A lot of people thought I was never be as good as Charles because I'm a woman, but I am.
But I am a woman, and I am as good.
It's like we get it.
So I appreciate that they are just doing. They're just doing the thing, and they're doing it well. Music, we talked about that. I know Darius has got a dip here in a second, but I wanted to. How long have we been recording at this point?
52 minutes.
52 minutes. I wanted to talk about.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I wanted to talk about Shawn Levy,
the director.
The director.
Oof, genius.
Shawn Levy, if you don't know this, directed the famous Jet Jackson movie.
Wow, interesting.
He directed Big Fat Liar.
Yep.
What?
With Frankie Muniz. He directed Cheaper by the Dozen.
Marty Wolf. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
No, I understand. I completely understand. He directed Night at the Museum.
Whoa.
Wow.
Episodes of Stranger Things.
Oh.
This Is Where I Leave You, which is a very heartfelt comedy drama with Tina Fey, Adam Driver, Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Deadpool. The span on this guy is incredible.
Impressive.
It's amazing.
And it like makes me think about you have to like shoot a movie differently for all of these things, right? And I think that he was on Stranger Things because he worked so much with kid actors. You have to do things differently with kid actors.
Because they're not good.
And like he was talking in this Cheaper by the Dozen, because I'm a nerd and I watched the director commentary on Cheaper by the Dozen. He like created a shot because he knew this kid like didn't have the ability to make himself cry. So he had to like shoot it from behind, so that you didn't see the kid's face. But it's just it's wild that he can do all these things and do it well. And the genres, like it's comedy drama and you're drawing out huge emotion. You're doing a big action flick. He directed a lot of episodes of Stranger Things, which is kid actors, but genuine like horror.
Yeah, there's some scary.
Yeah.
And it made me think of my favorite director, Rob Reiner, who did This Is Spinal Tap. So it's a mockumentary that is absolutely hilarious. He did When Harry Met Sally, which is one of my favorite movies all time, but like it's a romantic comedy. Yeah. He did Princess Bride, one of my other favorite movies of all time.
One of the best movies of all time.
So good. It's just it's a fairy tale, right? A comedy fairy tale. He did Misery, which is a Stephen King adaptation. Yeah. He did Stand By Me, which is also a kid actors, but very intense, based on a Stephen King novella. One of the best movies ever. He did A Few Good Men. Like the list that Rob Reiner has.
You can't even handle the truth.
You can't handle, like, I want to tell you the truth, but you can't handle the truth. It's insane. And not to mention, too, I would be curious to see Shawn Levy in front of the camera. Rob Reiner in front of the camera is amazing. Like, his dad is Carl Reiner, who did, like, a lot of comedy stuff with Mel Brooks. So, obviously, he's gifted comedically. Yes.
No, this is a complete side note because you're going so strong. So that's why I stopped myself. No, I'll have to bring this up at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. Shawn Levy's got range.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that directed Bullet Train?
Oh, he did Deadpool 2, the same guy.
Sean Levy?
Okay.
No. Sean Levy only did the third one. He didn't do the first two.
Oh, I thought you said that he did all of them.
So after Deadpool 2, the past 3 Ryan Reynolds movies, Adam Project, Free Guy, the other one, he's like him and Ryan Reynolds are doing everything.
Sean Levy. Okay.
But the first 2 Deadpool are David Leitch.
So David Leitch, that's who I wanted to talk about. Sean Levy is interesting. Yeah. David Leitch is the guy that made this possible.
Yeah.
And David Leitch is an old Brad Pitt stunt double.
Whoa.
Yes. Because he did Bullet Train, Fall Guy, Deadpool 2, Nobody, Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
John Wick 2.
It is a big
Violent
action
Night.
movie.
And I think he did the first John Wick. Wait, let me confirm this here.
So that's
These are all
didn't
great.
realize.
Yeah. Those are all like
I didn't
really solid action movies.
When you started talking about Sean
No,
Levy, I was
I
like,
think he's just
man.
a producer. Sorry. But his name is attached to that movie.
But David Leitch is an old Brad Pitt stunt double, and then he became a director, which you don't see a ton of people go from stunt double.
Yeah.
And stunt double sounds so derogatory, from stunt performer to director. You just don't see like a ton of that. And it's part of what made the first 2 Deadpool movies so insane is like he makes like Bullet Train. He knows how to direct action.
Yeah,
like,
he's got a direct line to the action scenes.
Well, same exact thing you're saying about Carl Reiner or Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner is a stand-up comedian, and he knows how to direct comedy because he knows how to deliver comedy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like my another.
Which, just as a side note, if you like are still you don't quite know who Rob Reiner is, he is Jess's dad in New Girl, and I think he's
funny,
so funny in that show.
I've only ever seen the pilot of that show.
Oh, dude,
pilot's great.
Spoiler alert, but I'm putting together my list of top 10 sitcoms that we're going to be doing an episode on in the near future.
Cannot wait. So that is that. On a quick side note, there's a movie about the first night of Saturday Night Live.
Did you watch the trailer for that?
Ooh, no.
Dude.
It is. I got emotional watching it because
like a movie?
It's literally
film
movie. It's
directed by Jason Reitman.
Yeah.
Get the
It's just literally the whole movie is just the 90 minutes before the first episode.
Oh my gosh.
I became a Saturday Night Live nerd before I hit puberty. I was 11 maybe. I think I was 11 years old, maybe 12 tops when I became like obsessed with Saturday Night Live. So that again is like a piece of my adolescence. That I'm like, this. I don't know anybody. There are people. I've found people online who are like way bigger SNL nerds than me.
Sure.
But I don't. Yeah. I love SNL, and the beginning of SNL is a super special thing. So it looks really good.
Really cool. Does it come out this year?
Yeah, in a couple months.
On October 11th.
Yeah.
This I forgot that we're technically in the. What are we? The 70 or the 50th? This is the 50th anniversary of SNL this year. Just nuts.
We should.
I remember watching the 25th anniversary on DVD. I watched that, I don't know, 100 times as a teenager.
We should make an effort to all see that movie. I'd drive over there and see it with you.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I was going to say, I'm going to make Jesse watch it with me. One way or another, whether I have to go to Yakima or not. So you guys should both watch it with me. I'll come to Yakima. We'll all watch it together.
Yes. That sounds awesome. And Jason Reitman is such a great person to do that.
Oh, who's in the cast? I was going to see. We don't have to talk about this on the pod. But.
Yeah. I was going to say we can wrap it up. Darius, Ben, always a pleasure.
Yes.
Listeners, always a pleasure. I hope that you have some insight on snakes and Deadpool today. And movie directors. It's just so fascinating to me, people who have a wide range of stuff. And it's the sort of thing that I want to try to do. Hey, you can like, subscribe, do all of that stuff. Follow us. Check us out on YouTube if you want the video version of this. And this is coming out Monday, so this weekend doesn't matter to you. Yeah. We'll see you guys next week.